Good evening and welcome to the August 26th, 2026 meeting of the Willits City Council. Could you please stand and we're going to have pledge of allegiance to the flag of our country by Larry Fransky, the longest serving current member.
Stand with me and say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Larry.
You may be seated now.
The City Council the City Council
Roll
welcomes...
call.
Roll call. Councilmember Burton.
Pleased to be here.
Gonzalez.
Present.
Stransky.
Yes.
Alanis.
Here.
Mayor Alden.
I'm here also.
Let me get this thing going. The City Council welcomes input from the audience. If there is a matter of business on the agenda that you are interested in, you may address the council when this matter is considered. If you wish to speak on a matter that is not on the agenda, you may do so at this time. In order for everyone to be heard, please limit your comments to 3 minutes per person. The Brown Act regulations do not allow action to be taken on audience comments in which the subject is not listed on the agenda.
So if you'd like to speak of any non-agenda item, please do so this time. And if you'd like to speak of any agendized item, but you don't have time to wait for it, you'll have your opportunity. Is there anybody who would like to speak about any non-agendized item? See nobody. Is there anybody who needs to get out of here and would like to speak of any agendized item? Okay, moving on to consent calendar. The City Council considers matters listed under the consent calendar as routine. The council will take action with a single vote and roll call vote. A council member may request the removal of an item from the consent calendar for separate discussion and subsequent action. Tonight on the consent calendar is City Council meeting from August 12th, 2026. Is there any public comment on the minutes from August 12th, 2026? Seeing none, is there any council corrections? Anybody like to make a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve the
Second.
minutes.
We have a motion and a second. To the clerk.
Councilmember Burton.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Stransky.
Yes.
Alanis.
Yes.
Mayor Alden.
Aye. To the city manager. Report, Purple?
No purple report from the city manager.
Okay, so department actions, resolution establishing a fiscal sustainability ad hoc committee, presenting staff member Dusty Duley, Community and Economic Development Director.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Council is well aware that the city continues to face an ongoing imbalance between general plan expenditures and revenues, and that achieving a long-term fiscal sustainability will require us to look at both sides of the equation. Working with both the mayor and the city manager, staff was directed to bring forward this resolution tonight for council consideration that would establish what we're calling a temporary fiscal sustainability ad hoc committee. The purpose of the committee would be to provide a focused review of strategies that could improve the city's long-term financial position. That may include identifying potential cost savings, operational efficiencies, opportunities to reduce or control ongoing expenditures, ways to enhance existing city revenues, as well as explore potential new revenue sources for the city, opportunities for other cost recovery and any other strategies that would support the fiscal sustainability and a balanced budget for the city. As proposed, the ad hoc committee would include 2 of the council members to be appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the council. I want to point out that this committee is strictly in an advisory role and would not have independent decision-making authority. Its role would be to evaluate potential strategies under the umbrellas I just spoke, and it's included in the resolution. And ultimately, it would bring those strategies, those recommendations back to the full council for consideration. As it contains less than a full quorum of the council, is only a recommending body, it doesn't fall into the definition of a legislative body subject to the Brown Act. The idea with these committees is once they come back and fulfill their purpose, they dissolve unless the council identifies additional duties to maintain the ad hoc committee further. With that, There's a resolution before you to consider for adoption, and again, we're looking for 2 members of the council to be members of this ad hoc committee.
Thank you, and I saw the work that you did on this, and you put a lot of work in this. Thank you very much. As this council knows and the public knows, Measure K expires in 2030, and this council has been working very hard to reduce our expenses and to reduce the amount of money that we pull from Measure K, but we can all predict the future that when Measure K comes to an end, that there will be some very hard decisions need to be made by the legislative body of the city council. And I support this, have an ad hoc to think now. It's 2026. We have a couple of years to try to predict and to try to come up with a solution to where we are so we can keep our sustainability adequate. To the council, the city manager and Dusty and I have talked about this. I'd certainly like to hear your comments.
No, I think that it's long overdue. I think it is, we have not yet attained sustainability with our budget. Our budget, even with Measure K, is over $500,000 out of balance. So, you know, I think there are some things that would be productive to talk about in terms of other revenue streams for the city to make better use of the resources that it has, both at the watershed and the valley ground that it owns out in the wastewater plant. I mean, I think there's some pretty interesting projects that could be talked about in that regard. And so I think that this is as good a format to begin to address that as you might have. So
Every time, anybody else like to?
I just agree with Bruce.
I agree that there's a need for this.
Yeah, I agree also.
Well, certainly we have 2 council members who are going off the council this fall, this December, as in Councilman Burton and Councilman Stransky. And the vice mayor, everything goes well, he'll be the mayor next year. And I actually would like to ask my friend Jerry Gonzalez if he would like to serve on a committee with me.
Okay.
That's what I would like. Is there a motion?
I would make that motion, please.
We have a motion?
I second that
We
motion.
have a second? Is there any public comment on this? We have a motion and a second. Any council comment? To the clerk.
Councilmember Burton.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Stransky.
Yes.
Alanis.
Yes.
Mayor Allen.
Aye. Thank you very much, Jerry. I'm hoping that in the next 4 weeks, we'll have a chance to sit down and get started post haste. Thank you very much for coordinating this, Dusty.
Absolutely. We'll work with everyone to get some thoughts and get an agenda together and set our first meeting date.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 9, B as in boy, resolution authorizing submission of a grant application execution of agreement for the Little Lake Mobile Home Park Water System Improvement North Main Street Pipeline Extension Project, presenting staff member Dusty Duley, Community and Economic Development Director. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi again. Yeah, so the Little Lake Mobile Home Park is located approximately 1.1 miles north of the city limits. It serves approximately 38 residents. Historically, the parks relied on a single groundwater well to serve the water needs of those residents. Starting sometime around 2023, it started having structural failures, and the state has been using funds through what they call the Urgent Drinking Water Needs Program to truck in water to serve the residents.
Urgent Water Needs Program.
The state's Urgent Drinking Water Needs Program,
Okay.
yes. Because of the failure of the park's water system and a lack of alternative other than what's currently going on, the state is requiring...
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor?
Once again, I'm slow on the uptake, but I have a conflict of interest on this.
Okay, so this is just a grant application
I get it. I don't want to,
to our attorney?
Well,
but it does probably have change the material value of that mobile home park, and if it has city water versus no water.
And you have an economic interest in this, in that?
I own the property next door.
okay, so if you own property within 500 feet of a property that's under consideration of an agenda item, and the decision that council makes could have a material effect on your own finances, then you have a potential.
That's my point.
All right, please step aside and we'll call you as soon as we're done. Thank you very much. Continue on, I'm sorry.
I need to start these by just asking if Bruce owns property.
Not much help around here.
All right, 1.1 miles north of the city limits, next adjacent to Mr. Burton's property, serving approximately 38
Now you said
residents. All right, so we got through that. So, but because of the failure of their existing water system, the state is essentially making the city extend our water utilities to it. The good part of that is they're agreeing to pay for that.
100%?
100%. That's now we're waiting for a signed agreement, so we're not making too many moves until then, but this is certainly part of that process of getting a signed agreement. What you have before you tonight is a resolution for the city to submit a grant and then execute any related documents upon receiving the grant agreement from the state. Let me just say that the grant will pay for construction costs. It will also pay for any city staff time required to support the project. So yes, the way this is being set up, the way staff understand it, is 100% reimbursable to the city. So we should not be out of pocket for this project.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. The current estimated construction cost, along with completing the environmental review, design, paying us for our time, is $3.4 million. Tonight's action, I should note, it doesn't actually authorize the construction itself. We're in the process of completing the environmental document pursuant to CEQA, and that document will be before council at a later date. But what we have before you tonight is, again, a resolution authorizing this committee to submit for the grant and for the city manager designee to sign and execute all related documents. And I will note, we need to submit, this is kind of coming fast to staff. The state's really taking the lead on this, but we have some documents that we need to get done and submitted on the 28th of this month. So it becomes important to get this done tonight.
Okay, public comment on the city applying for a grant that would extend our water system outside the city limits, continuing 1.1 miles up to serve 38 residents at the Little Lake Mobile Home Park. Nikki.
Hi, my name is Nikki Copeland. I have a question. Are we connecting just the water park, or are we connecting everybody from the end of our current water services all the way to that?
I don't understand the question.
Well, so
The other customers along the way.
There's customers in between who are
Oh, in
currently
between.
not on city water.
Oh, I see. It's a fair question.
Turn it on.
That's a good question. Thank you, Nick. So the water line is only servicing the mobile home park. So it's a 6-inch main. We did request that we add, in coordination with the fire department, we asked them for 3 hydrants. So there is technically, hydrant service to adjacent properties. But one's approximately by the residence when you're heading north. The next one would be at the first mobile home park, and then the third would be by the mobile home park that we're servicing. So it's gonna be a 6-inch line. I believe it drops down to a 4-inch line right there at the mobile home park, and we're gonna service that with a 3-inch master meter to that mobile home park. That is not, so the benefit to the city of it is that we would be able in the future, way down the road, have this for any future development if that would be annexed, 20 years from now, however long. But currently, the only service we will provide is that one at the end at the mobile home park.
So that would bypass that small mobile home park, and it would also bypass the house that used to belong to Fred Snyder, I don't know who owns it now. And we would just legally be able to bypass them without offering them an opportunity to hook up to it?
Correct. You would still have to, if they wanted to request service, they would still have to go through LAFCO to get permission for that.
Okay.
Well, I think we still have, the city, it needs to go through LAFCO on this, but this is basically fast-tracked because it's a emergency.
I see.
Correct.
Basically, because their water system has failed, it's done under that. But all the other folks would then have to approach and get that. Because normally what happens is if you get out of service agreements, it's usually with the understanding that you're going to get annexed into the city. But in this case, it's a special circumstance. So the other folks basically get told, no, you can't. You've got to go through the process and apply to LAFCO and pay those expenses.
Government at its worst. One of my questions, Davey, is the farthest north hydrant that we have apparently is a very low flow hydrant because of the friction that is caused by the water going all the way from the water plant to the last hydrant. Does this grant, and maybe Dusty would know, does this grant help us with any kind of pumping system that would increase the PSI to the north end of our water system?
No, it does not, and that's a great question because we had that same question when we began the design. The fire department did do a flow test at that hydrant. The one hydrant with the low flow issue is the wharf hydrant, which actually kind of runs east of that main hydrant there, kind of towards the log yard. There's a wharf hydrant there. That one's a really low flow hydrant, but I believe it's only a 4-inch line. So they did do flow testing at that to see if it was adequate. That's also one of the reasons why the pipe is upsized instead of continuing like a 2-inch or a 3-inch line all the way to the mobile home park. The pipe is upsized for future use, and it does help with getting water volume down to those other hydrants.
I'm not an engineer, but if we have a 4-inch line there,
It's a 6-inch line main there. And
currently there's 6 inches to that hydrant.
correct, and then the low flow one where we've had issues is it tees off there at a smaller pipe to a wharf hydrant, which is not a standard fire hydrant. It's a different looking
A
hydrant.
standpipe.
Yeah, it's basically a sandpipe.
Jerry, what was that? Go ahead.
So I was led to believe that obviously when I was on the Water Wastewater Committee, that when this came up about 2 years ago as a possibility, that we could do this and get some grant money with the understanding that they would pay for the hookup and all that, but it would also help us develop our system, kind of like when we were looking at potentially the Pine Mountain subdivision, but we'd be getting something over and above just them running the line out to this. Is that something, is it the water board, state water board that, or resources?
Yeah, so currently this started about a year ago, the process, and the designs are approximately 60% complete, and it doesn't include any intertie or issues that we had talked about for improving that area. So this is straight funding just to supply the water to the mobile home park.
I mean, something like some sort of, what do we call it, like we call it a lift station, but something that would help pump. Is that a possibility that we could get something that could increase, because of what Tom brought up, the fire, that was what I was concerned about, was that in the past, some of those residents, before we did some of the other upgrades, were complaining, and I mean, I figure we'd get something for this, and I also understand that if we don't do it, the state can still come and make us do it. So we should get something out of it for our folks.
I concur. So currently, the booster pump at that location, the solution, the true solution there at the south end of town would be an interconnect, a loop system.
North end.
North end, sorry. Thank you, Jerry. Councilmember. A loop system from our pipeline on Lenore and then looping it so you have 2 feeding sources so you can get more volume and more pressure. Unfortunately, when the fire department did the flow testing on that hydrant, and they did submit flow testing, which was submitted to the design team doing that, it met the criteria. So we didn't, with that, if that flow test was a failure and it was too low and we didn't have enough pressure, we could have made that argument for additional
I get it.
support.
Okay.
But unfortunately, we didn't
That makes sense.
meet that low criteria.
Larry?
Okay, I have two questions. First of all, we're supposed to have a meter at the end where it leaves our city limits going into the county.
So unfortunately, that decision was made by a past city manager on, when these talks were going on 6 to 8 months ago. That was discussed with our utility superintendent as one of the city's options of kind of what we would personally like would be to have a meter at the edge of the city limits and then a private line, which would be owned by the mobile home park for theirs. That decision was made by a city manager it would be in the city's best interest to supply it with our own line, and we would own that infrastructure.
So where would we
So we
have a
will,
meter to
so
the amount of water?
we will own that pipeline, and the meter will be at the service to the mobile home park. So we'll own the pipeline all the way to the mobile home park, and there'll be a meter right outside their property
The mobile home park?
at the mobile home park. So we will
Okay.
meter every gallon that gets used.
Okay, so it's going to go without any meter on it all the way to the RV park.
Correct.
So if I owned Burton's property, and I don't own it by any means,
He might sell.
then how am I going to tie into that if I go through all of the rigmarole to go through LAFCO and the county to tie into it? What would happen there?
So if you did own property and you applied successfully to LAFCO, depending on the water needs, we would install a water service just like any other water service. We would put either a 1-inch tap or it's some system, wherever your property was, we would provide a service lateral to your parcel and we'd install a meter. And now
So it
you,
would be city-owned pipeline all the way to the mobile home
Correct.
park. And so if I wanted to tie into it to make housing, then I could do that by going through LAFCO first, and then I would have to wait if LAFCO said that it was okay and the county said it was okay, because the county's going to have a call on that also, right?
yes, it is in county property, so we have to get encroachment permits through the county to install anything
So
to their
the
property.
meter would be there at the pipeline if I went through all of this trouble to get the water for my property, which is in county?
Yeah, essentially, if all the stars aligned and it was approved, we could install a lateral from the pipeline. It would be a smaller pipeline teed off the main line to a property, and you would get a meter.
So we would have to have somebody go out and read the meter out there, or would it be something that would be electronically sent it back to the water department?
Yeah, so we will most likely install an electronic read out there, but you still have to drive by it to collect that read. So yes, you will have to physically have someone get close to that meter to read it.
Okay. And the second one is, well, you've already answered the second one.
Okay.
Is that if I'm as rich as Burton, then I'm going to do that, so that's...
All right. These are good questions. Who else has questions? All right. No public I'm going to close the public comment. It's closed to the council. We have a resolution in front of us. We've asked questions. Unless there's more questions, we need a motion.
Since I feel like the State Water Board has a gun to our head, so to speak, and we have folks out there with no water, and the rules are quite plain on how this works, I will make the motion.
And I second it.
So motion and a second. The motion is for the resolution that staff has provided?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. To the clerk.
Member Gonzalez?
Yes.
Stransky?
Yes.
Colonies?
Yes.
Mayor Allen?
Aye. Can someone get Bruce, please?
It's like a water gun.
state was waterboarding us. All right, so now we're to the department monthly reports, administrative services.
Bruce, before you sit down, I want you to know I used your name for the face.
Oh, I thought I felt something.
Okay, and with administrative services, are you going to cover financial? If there's any financial?
I do have a slight update for you that came in today. But yes, the provided monthly report is for July, and just to recap, most of that energy outside of daily operations was spent on prepping for the 24-25 audit that we're still currently working on. I was able to speak with Andy Heath today to get some follow-up timelines, projections on the questions that we posed from the Finance Committee regarding preliminary numbers and the projected completion time and report of the 24-25 audit. And his response was that right now we're going very well, so well that we have not yet received any more rounds of sampling requested from the auditors. They are staying busy and on task and on time. So we're looking at preliminary numbers projected to be coming in at the end of next month. And then
Into September.
yes.
Okay.
And the tentative completion and findings report at the end of October.
All right. We're on schedule.
We're on schedule.
You have questions, Larry?
Yes. Springbrook is still something we're learning. How long does it take everybody to learn how to use Springbrook? I mean, we've been talking about this for at least 2 years, 3 years maybe. And we still don't know how to use it?
Well, that's
I know maybe that's a difficult question, but I mean, we've gone through a person that supposedly knew it and wanted it, and we're down to the second person, which you're the person, and I just don't understand what makes this so complicated. It's supposed to simplify things.
Well, I mean, they must be using it somewhat effectively to be on the verge of having all the complete information to the auditors now. So I get the impression that it's
They got a handle on it.
that it's working better. Have you been hearing that it's still not working? Because I've
Well,
been
it
hearing
says
the
here
other.
that it's still, that is aimed at still using it to, not keep, everybody doesn't know all the answers is what I'm trying to get at. Yes, you know all the answers or no?
No, and the short version of that is we will never know all the answers, but what generally happens with these implementations is we get to a level of functionality, and that's the implementation phase. And that part has been completed. We've found some better practices that we can put into place just in these last few months. And those are being identified right now. The 24-25 audit is the final audit using ACS. So the conversion from the legacy system to Springbrook, unfortunately, did not go as clean as they had hoped. And so that took a lot of decoding and a lot of translation. It didn't go very well from what I can see. So that wasn't as clean as it should have been. But we are getting faster because now everything is in Springbrook, and we're getting more efficient at pulling the reports, getting the information back out of Springbrook. And since we do know that in the 25-26 fiscal year, the transactions were entered real time in Springbrook, that's how we know that it's going to be exponentially faster in retrieving that data, as well as when I say optimizing Springbrook use, now we can move toward automation. Automation means that the things that we have identified as repetitive transactions or repetitive functions, we can start to make workflows so that the systems communicate internally. In this audit, we found out that there are multiple collection points of receiving money, and we are learning things that are outside of Springbrook that are causing data to be an obstacle coming into Springbrook alone. We have multiple credit card processing companies. We have different ways of collecting money. Just that information alone is slowing things down. So we're going to consolidate and optimize our processes before and while we're building Springbrook's communication internally and understanding it better, we're going to be able to build some automations that are just going to save time because it won't be manually handed from one process to the next. So that's the optimization that we're achieving.
I appreciate all this. The thing I'm interested in is I'm a non-computer person. And I know that nobody else in this whole world doesn't use computers, but I do not. And I just think that knowing what you guys know seemed like a long time for people that don't know. I mean, I'm not the only person in the world that doesn't use computers. But what I'm saying is that it seems like it's just taken forever.
Well, I will say Joseph's been here less than 90 days, and the
I'm not blaming him.
No, I'm just saying the work product we're getting from him, every council meeting is exhilarating because we're learning more about Springbrook than we ever have before.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for putting up with me.
Absolutely, I appreciate the questions.
And I just want to comment that when Joseph doesn't know, he tells us he doesn't know. That's what I
And when
like.
Joseph says he's going to get back to us,
He does.
Joseph get back to us.
Yeah, so that, I really appreciate that.
You need to get back to me about it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay, we have an airport report. Is there any other information on the airport?
Thank you. The only thing of note at the airport is we just did have our inspection up there for Caltrans Aeronautics, and that went pretty well. Nothing of note. All our tree work they were happy with that. So no real action items. It just kind of going smooth. We're just trying to maintain up there. So
Earlier this year, we approved access on the east side of the airport.
correct.
Is that going to happen this year?
Kenan has reached out to the main people doing that, and when we have not received any communication on that. I don't believe they've done any work up there.
That's a Caltrans project?
It's not
You mean
Cal Fire, correct,
Okay.
yeah. So we're not really dictating that. All we really want to know is they just need to communicate to us when they're going to be out there doing that
Got
work
it.
so that we can make the tenants, the airport, aware that stuff's happening, and it really shouldn't interfere. But
Okay.
that's what we requested.
All right, once again, to the Community Development Director, do you have a report?
I just want to say, I think the council recalls that I mentioned one of the previous city managers, of which there have been too many, but they asked if I knew how to swim, and I said yes, and they said, great, you're in charge of the city pool. So I've been learning a little bit about that, and I'm so grateful that we could find the funding and work with the school district to extend the pool hours this summer. Rather than closing down on August 7th, we've been able to extend the pool, limited pool hours through September 11th. And I felt like I was going to get pitchforked by a lot of our folks that enjoy swimming in the pool, and rather I had cookies baked for me. So it was quite the turnaround, and I want to thank whoever out there baked cookies for us and the staff. It was very much appreciated. And then just a quick little update, met with the FAA today, and we're chasing some funding to do a pavement management plan at the airport, which will then set us up to get additional funding from the FAA to do a bunch of pavement rehab up at the airport too. So, as well as pay for all city staff time related to the project. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, to the chief.
I think June and July were submitted in this agenda packet. If there's no questions about that, I would like to make a request to the community. School has begun, so please slow down in the mornings and afternoons. Our young people are out and about on the street, so please take your time. leave early, and we are going to be focusing on distracted driving. So if you don't have to take that phone call and don't have to take that text, you can pull over to take that phone call or take that text. But we will be out looking for distracted driving. So again, please slow down. School has started, the youth are out and about, and we're looking out for their safety.
Thank you, Chief. Any council, any questions? Larry?
I just want you to know that the high school kids and the seniors are still doing wheelies in front of the store.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wheelies on their
Senior citizens?
Scooters and bikes.
scooters and bicycles.
Yep,
On the sidewalk or on the street?
sidewalk.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions for the chief? Okay, yes.
I have one, I guess. There's been a kind of a new round of interest in flock cameras in the public discussion here in the last few months, and I was wondering if you could give us an update on ours and how they're being used.
I would say that ALPRs, or license plate readers, are a great investigative tool, and that's how ours are being used, as an investigative tool. I know in the national media there have been published abuses of the tool. I can tell you that I looked back in just at August, and I don't see any irregularities in the searches that our staff have conducted. I can tell you that if there are, they will be addressed, like the misuse of any tool, they will be addressed with staff should that occur. Does that answer your question? Or do you have any other questions?
Just for the public.
So Chief,
Yeah.
do you have the ability to know of every bit of information that your officers have requested from Flock?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we ask that their searches are tied to a case number or an incident number, which helps with auditing.
I guess in defense of the question, I'm not so sure that the primary concern is the officer's use, but where that information resides, and Flock, for lack of I think that's the name, if I'm wrong.
It is.
Correct. But it is that database held locally and only locally, or is it held by
The cloud.
the cloud or Flock, and there are access to it that are above and beyond your control?
We own the data. We, the city of Willits, own the data. And we have our system set up for a 30-day retention, unless, say, for example, there was a crime today and we had a license plate that was a piece of evidence. There's a way that we can save that so that it could be presented in court should it be needed later. But the data, after 30 days, it automatically drops off.
And it doesn't exist anymore? Nobody has it?
Correct.
Okay. I think that's been part of the public's concern.
Any other questions for the chief? Yeah.
Chief, you have on the police department's website, you have a transparency portal. Has the portal been activated yet?
Correct. So on the city's website, under the police department tab, if you look on the right-hand side, you can scroll down and you can see, thank you, sir, a transparency portal that talks about how many searches have been conducted, how many plates have been read. It has some information about some myths and some facts. And so there's a lot of information on that. Again, it's on the city's page under the police department tab, and it's on the right-hand side under, there's some clickable, for lack of a better word, in red on the right-hand side.
Thank you.
And it's available 24/7 if you need to answer any questions. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions for the chief? Any public comment on the Flock? Helen?
Can I go back and comment on the administrative portion? You didn't ask for comments at that time.
If you would like to allow me to catch up, I'd appreciate it.
Helen Sims. I think I asked this question maybe a year ago, but with Springbrook. Okay. Is it completely paid for, and are things like this future optimization and future modules and things that we may need to make it right? Is that paid for, or are these things that will be a continued cost to make it work?
I don't think you own that kind of information anymore. I think you rent it in perpetuity.
And you
I may be
ownership
wrong.
of it?
Well, let Joseph give us the administrative service answer.
Thank you for the question. It's a good one. Our current situation or obligation from Springbrook is that everything that we have purchased from them is for just the implementation. And so they're done with that piece of contract. There's no lingering implementation obligation from Springbrook to us for training or anything else that's dedicated to improve workflows that we can't improve ourselves. So the optimization is a combination between how we're using it and understanding our own processes that can be run within Springbrook, that we can get a lot of those things. We have access to materials that are already identified, training webinars and videos and how-tos that are basic industry functionality that Springbrook is being utilized for. But the pointed reports for the audits, for example, or annual reports that we need to provide to the state controller's office, those types of things, we are going to, once we have the pointed question for an hour or a 2-hour training with the individuals that we would have involved in that process, then we would have to pay for that particular training. And so we aren't jumping right into scheduling time with them because we still have so much to read. And so to answer your question, any additional resources that we would need that are outside of our own understanding and what we already have to go through would have to be purchased.
Good answer. So we have a users group, I would imagine, that you get your questions answered. And do we pay annual fees to Springbrook?
Yes, the fees that we pay now are licensing fees. They're subscription fees to use the modules and to use the software. You're correct, there is also a Springbrook community that we are able to reach out to other organizations similar to ours. We already know that the city of Sebastopol is a longtime Springbrook user. Although it might be a prior version, we have access to both of those versions, and anybody that we've reached out to so far has been very open to assisting us with any questions that are similar in nature.
Got it. Sure. Okay. All right. Any other public comment? Yes, by all means. Right up here, and it's not for amplification, it's for the video.
So I have a question for the chief, which is, how many flock cameras do you have? When were they implemented, and where are they?
So the original contract that was approved was for 7 cameras. Only 3 are operational.
Website says 4.
Correct. That is an error on the website.
Okay.
Only 3 are operational. And I'm reluctant to disclose the specific locations because throughout the United States they've become vandalized. And so I would prefer not to answer that question.
Okay, any other public comment?
Can I ask a follow-up question? If one was to become vandalized, we would have to pay for that ourselves. The city would lose money for that, or would the company replace that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure to answer your question.
Okay.
Any other public comment or council questions for the chief? All right, moving on to Public Works.
One thing of note, right across the street, the guys have put a lot of work into our park. We've got repair parts in finally for the overhand bars, and those are installed. We got the merry-go-round fixed, and we've just installed 2 truckloads of chips to get us up to our compliant level of fall protection. And so it's looking looking much nicer, and I thank them for doing that. The other one item of note that didn't make the list, because we just signed it last week, is we did get our agreement from the state for $400,000 for an LPP pavement preservation project, which was West Mendocino Phase 2. So we just got the signed agreement from the state that they were going to give us $400,000, which is a 20% match. So they pay 80%, we pay 20%. So that was, it's nice to get that in writing and get that financial agreement in place. We are currently in design with LACO to finish up the 250,000 gallon clear water tank. So that's now in process, moving forward with that. And is any other, those are the main items of note that are not in here. Does anyone have any specific questions about
The progress on the Great Redwood Trail.
So Great Redwood Trail is moving along. All the bridges are set. We did have one soft spot that was noticed by our geotechnical engineer, SHN. So we had to do a little bit of a dig out there right on the side of the west side of Mendo Mill. Basically, there's about 14 feet of clay right there next to the river, and it basically undulates when you're trying to compact your base. So that was dug out, replaced. We did have that budgeted as it was a potential issue, and so that was a budgeted item we had planned for. But they're moving briskly along. The base rocking right now and compacting up to the Bechtel Creek Bridge, which is the commercial street side here. So I think we're moving along right on schedule. So
Scheduled to finish by the end of this year?
yeah, so currently the contractual schedule date is December 7th.
Okay, oh, the day that we're living in.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions? Yes?
Councilman?
I had some school people ask me about the crosswalk over at Brookside. Looks like it needs some attention.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been in contact with the school. Kennan's been working on getting the materials together. We're going to paint that. So that is part of that, the Phase 2 of West Mendocino is actually that crosswalk. The design for that is planned to extend through that intersection. So right past Spruce, which would include thermoplasticing and improving that whole intersection. We kind of ended there at Spruce Street last time, so this is going to get us to Spruce Street. So we're gonna paint those fresh here in the next week or two.
Okay.
But we don't want a thermoplastic. It's
Yeah.
expensive, and we don't want to tear out
I
brand new
figured some
stuff.
paint till you could thermoplastic.
Yeah, so that's our plan. Is to
Okay.
yes, we will get to.
Thank you, that was.
Any public comments for utilities?
Oh, I had a quick comment.
Or for Public Works, I'm sorry, Public Work? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to ask, recently the INCOG approved the 20 Willits multimodal circulation intersectional improvement study, basically a traffic study. Can you talk a little bit about how important that is for city development and our plans? Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
I am familiar with it. I think Dusty's mainly as more of a planning part of it, so
Okay.
Dusty's involved, but it is a very important for us to plan for the future. And that's, we just had our main PCI study done, so we just got a report back, and we'll be presenting that to council in the next couple, hopefully next month if we get the final report back. But these are incredible tools to have a plan in place and forecast the future improvements of our town, not only our streets, but also our infrastructure underneath it, and doing it in a way that is financially responsible to where we fix the infrastructure on the ground, then we fix the roads, we stripe in the right order to not, dig up a line right through a brand new pavement, and also plan for the future safety of pedestrians and the traffic flows throughout town. They're incredible tools to prioritize the future growth and the safety of our town.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. My understanding is it's completely funded already, so we're just, I just want to thank the INCOG staff for making this a priority. It took a long time to get all this stuff going through, so
Yeah.
I'm really glad to hear some of that would happen, so.
Yeah.
Dusty?
Do you have any comments on that, Dusty? Dusty can house it.
You articulate yourself very well as always. Right, so,
Some of the stuff gets kind of mundane, and I just want like the
yeah,
population.
no, I appreciate you bringing it up. 'Cause there's a lot of good things that are happening, and the more questions you ask and the more positive answers we have, I'm really happy to share that with council and our community. So what you're referring to is the Highway 20 multimodal study. And it is a grant that MCOG secured. There's funding, again, available for city staff's time spent working with the community to identify the types of improvements that we want to see along the Highway 20 corridor that runs through town, both along our main street and then out towards Fort Bragg to the city limits. And I do want to note that this, as we go out to the community and meet with local businesses, this really is probably going to be the one opportunity that we have to identify what we want. What this is going to inform is ultimately a Caltrans shop project that's expected to occur where you actually, have a construction project sometime in the next, 10 years. So the way this works is, I know it's 10 years out, but the reality is Caltrans is asking for information now. And it's great that we're getting funding so that we can do a good job with public outreach and then develop some studies and make some informed decisions for ultimately council to make and then give to Caltrans so that when they do finally come and make those improvements, it'll match with, hopefully, with what our community wants. So anyways, just wanted to add that part of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, and utilities, are we all done with utilities?
Yeah, unless you guys have any specific questions.
Any questions for utilities? All right, moving on to city council announcements, communications, and reports. I know Larry has one. Bruce, anything?
I don't think I have anything to report tonight. Thank you.
Larry?
There was no LAFCO this month. We do have LAFCO next month, and I think maybe Larry was talking about this earlier, but I would like to see it come back on a future council meeting agendas that we empower the city manager, whoever it might be, that this council does, that they can write letters when the league sends out these alerts on things on behalf of the city. So,
If you would like that on the next agenda, it'll be on the next agenda. Right? Clerk?
it's too late for this round,
I get it.
but if
We
we
can't
have
vote.
it there, then we don't have to worry
Right,
about it.
okay. Larry?
Okay. My thing was that I got this notice, and I don't know how many other people got it, but I got this last night, and I read it through it this morning and then again this afternoon, and it's about the liability for wildfire liability coverage. And PG&E is saying that as residents of the community and of the county and the people in the city and the individuals theirself, this is a thing to make it so that we pay for the liability when PG&E's pole falls over and starts a fire, that they don't want to cover it, they want us to cover it. And so consequently, my thing is when I brought this up is I wanted the city to be able to write a letter saying that we're opposed to it, or said it's great, PG&E, for us taking us to the cleaners again, but I want to stand saying that we should not have to pay for it when PG&E is liable for it. That's all. So whatever I would like to say, I would like the assistant city manager to write a letter to Sacramento or to the League of Cities or
Not the assistant city manager, we'll have one, the city manager.
city manager, excuse me, to say that I, as one person in the community, is opposed to having it passed that the liability goes to the individuals and to the city and to the county. That it should be PG&E, if they have a pole that falls over and starts a fire, that they're responsible for it.
Okay, so it wasn't on the agenda tonight, so we can't vote on it.
That is
But-
correct.
But what we're going to have in 2 weeks is we're going to have an agenda item that would authorize the city manager to write such a letter on our behalf.
Okay, but it's due on the 28th.
Understood.
I think individuals can still send letters in to the representatives.
Anyhow, I'm just saying that I'm just upset about it. And there's all kinds of cities that have been opposed to it. And I can't imagine thinking that PG&E wants us to pick up the tab for it.
All right, anything else?
No.
Okay.
Okay, this Monday I went to an ENACTMENT meeting. It was fascinating as always. And keeping track of Willits, yes, I was proud to hear that the ENACTMENT staff had prioritized Willits' needs in this long-term planning. Also, there was an MTA meeting today. Unfortunately, that was canceled for various reasons. We'd like to remind everybody of the Lions Club meeting or the party. Anniversary celebration party, and just at all, happening this Saturday, right, from 12 to 5. Okay. So if you know a line, or if you're interested in a line, contact the Lions about that. And then on September the 5th, of course, there's Class for Costs, which is also happening before our next meeting. So if you haven't already got tickets, contact your favorite Rotarian. I'm sure they'll be able to help you with that. Okay. Finally, I'm going to announce my absence next month, September the 9th. I have a different work obligation that evening, so I won't be able to attend the meeting at all. So just make it generally known. Thank you.
Okay. For me, I'm actually going to ask us to stand for a moment of silence, but I want to read something before we stand. We have a very important city employee, Clarence Tarver, has worked for the city for many years. And tragedy struck his household on the 17th when his wife Priscilla passed away unexpectedly. And for those of us in the city who get out and involved, you always knew when Priscilla was there because she was glowing. And I've never heard her say a bad word. She was pleasant, she was positive. She was one of those people in a community that every community wants to have, because she was just a pleasant person that was there. And I want to read this, and we're going to have a moment of silence. And I'm going to ask you to stand. Priscilla Lynn Rodriguez Tarver was born May 18, 1954, to Beatriz Sanchez and Jose Rodriguez at Parks Air Force Base in Pleasanton, California. She resided in and was an integral part of our Willits community for more than 30 years. Priscilla lived her life for her family and community. Priscilla passed away unexpectedly on August 17, 2026, and survived by her husband, Clarence Tarver, a longtime City of Willits employee, siblings Cindy and Adrian, children Rob, Jason, and Melanie, and numerous grandchildren and great-grandchildren, which she boasted about. The viewing will be held at Anchor Lucier Mortuary Friday, August 28th from 3 to 7. Celebration of Life to follow Saturday, August 29th, 3 p.m. to 6 at the Agape Church in Willits. There's a beautiful picture of her. If you would please stand, and we're going to give her a moment of silence. Thank you very much. So our regular meeting for the Willits City Council is going to conclude, and we are going to convene a closed session pursuant to Government Code 54957, recruitment and potential public employee appointment of city manager. So at this point, the regular City Council meeting has concluded. Thank you very much for spending your Wednesday evening with us. Good evening. The closed session for August 26, 2026 for the Willits City Council is concluded, and direction has been given to staff. Good night. Thank you. And it is 8:22 p.m.